up. Get your weapon, get your blade up. Damage, then you gon' pay up.
You crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade up. Damage, then you gon' pay up. You crank that volume, turn it way up. Turn it way up, turn it way up.
Crank that volume, turn it way up, way up. Volume, turn it way up, way up. You crank that volume, turn it way up, way up. Put your hands, put your city, put your fans, put your state up.
Yeah, look, I ain't about to tell you twice. We on different levels and you better get the balance right. We not eye to eye, we are not alike. You couldn't even be me in another life. Don't hit me on my phone, yeah, I'll get back when I'm posted. They wanna blackmail cause they see I'm going posted. I've been at the top since I came over. I've been in control, yeah, it's game over. Born great, no, I ain't asked for it. Chasing the throne, I'm coming back for it. I'll never quit, fading the black for it. Never hang it up, I need a black for it.
Right or wrong, you can try to fake it, it won't last long. Right or wrong, running down the cup, but it's the team strong. I would never let up, I'ma last forever. That's how I'm moving on this side. I would never let up, I'ma last forever. That's how I'm moving on this side. This side.
Look, yeah, I took some losses, but I turned it to a window. Loving where you at, they ain't seen where you been though. See the numbers, I'ma run it up again. I can take it over when I want to, cause I can. Ain't nothing left, I had to get right. We ain't worried about no critics all on this show. I've been at the top since I came over. I've been in control, yeah, it's game over. Born great, no, I ain't asked for it. Chasing the throne, I'm coming back for it. I'll never quit, fading the black for it. Never hang it up, I need a black for it.
Right or wrong, you can try to fake it, it won't last long. Right or wrong, running down the cup, but it's the team strong.
Been at it already, had my tarot read. Things are looking up for me, that's what my tarot said. Been pumping out pheromones and wearing red. Young Jerry Lawler a king, but they're not aware of it. $40 to show money, that's what they stole from me. Blow it all bowling, guess I roll funny. Go find me a snow bunny, ask if this cold world's making her nose runny. She melted, I wear a cape that is velvet. Couldn't see it, she felt it. See it all like I'm Elvis, move my hips like I'm Elvis. I don't pitch it, I sell it. Couldn't picture me jealous, turning fans into zealots. Tuning in when I tell it. There were 15 people at the gig, saying, oh my God, what fun this is. Did it all, did it right, did it big. Yeah, buddy, we were loving it. New cards, new deck, new life. King of Cups, he comes up right. Always, all days, all nights. Sing do-wah, do-wah, do-wah. New cards, new deck, new life. King of Cups, he comes up right. Always, all days, all nights. Sing do-wah, do-wah, do-wah.
Hey, what's up world? Sorry to keep you waiting out there, and welcome to an all-new episode of the OH.Report video podcast. My name is Brian Skronsky, and we got a big one tonight. We're going to be leading you up to Monday Night Football. Steelers versus Browns tonight. Of course, it's huge. We're going to fill you in the meantime about high school football, the games that we have coming up, who's hot, who's not in high school volleyball right now, the Friday Night Phenoms and Top Plays nominees that you guys need to see, and then Travis's and I's biggest rivalries in all of sports before we bring in Lucas Wickiser to break down that Browns-Steelers rivalry, and then also the Buckeyes as well. And Big League Berardi is with me, just sprinting over to his seat just in time and in some Darth Vader attire, but I think you're still feeling okay about it for now, right?
Right now.
For now.
I'm okay. I just saw Amari Cooper is going to be playing tonight, which that's just wonderful. But hey, it's the rivalry. Well, can we call it a rivalry again? I don't know. We got beaten us what?
I don't like you today. So
I never like you, but I'm kidding.
Hey, dude, we have lots to get into. Let's not gas bag it and waste time here. Let's just get into some high school volleyball, Trav. We're going to take a look at 3 different conferences, and since you are indeed K-MAC, Trav, that's what people call you around the area.
You're darn right.
Let's start with the K-MAC conference and show you how things are looking right now. So I just saw Fredericktown play Centerburg a few days ago. Love the Lady Freddies and everything that they got going on. Both the Boughton sisters are fantastic. We know Callie Carpenter's a stud. Centerburg, they are right there as well. So I think those are the top 2 dogs in the conference. Cardington, fallen off just a little bit from prior years, but those top 3 very strong. And then the Golden Knights probably going to finish right there in that 4th spot.
Yeah, it's going to be between Fredericktown and Centerburg. It's going to come down to Freddyburg Part 2. Centerburg should have won that first match against Fredericktown, but a 5-set thriller. You called it. Fredericktown comes back, wins the last 3 sets, and takes it. But it's going to be those 2. I think Cardington, they're just too far back already midway through the season. It's going to be, like I said, Freddyburg Part 2 will determine if we have an outright or probably a split conference championship.
Yeah, no question. That was definitely the most lit atmosphere that I have seen for a volleyball match in quite some time. In the MOAC, we also have 2 top dogs running the pack. Gallion with a big win over Highland, and that's a team perennially very highly ranked within the state. So I could see both of them doing some big things in the tournament, but talking right now about the MOAC, looks like the Tigers going to be the front runner. Obviously, they got that head-to-head. Yeah,
they had a very impressive victory over Highland in their matchup. The lone loss for Gallion is to St. Henry State, I think number 2 or number 1 in Division 3. They lost. It was a tournament, so they only played a best of 3. They lost 27-25 and then 25-12. But this is a Gallion team that this year, like a couple other teams in our area, they might make a long run. Possibly seeing them at Wright State, we'll see. But Gallion right now has a game lead on Highland, and it's kind of like Fredericktown and Centerburg. The second matchup at Highland will probably determine, do we have an outright or do we have a split championship, because they are above the rest.
And we're going to have the Gallion Tigers live and free tomorrow over at the Lady Colt Corral, which you're looking at right here. So it could be a long night for the Colts. getting swatted on right there. All right, let's dive now into the Northern 10 Conference, Mr. Berardi, and you see the Mohawk Lady Warriors still unblemished, rocking that 0 in their loss column carry. They got a big matchup coming up with them here pretty soon. Those are the two best teams, I think, far and away within this league. So all three that we're looking at tonight, it's kind of a two-pony race.
Yeah, and I just saw Mohawk, the Lady Warriors, on the Coach's Corner on Wednesday, and they, they beat Cary twice in the regular season last year, and then Cary got the best of them 3-1 in a district championship.
Crazy,
they
right?
remember that. They got that chip on their shoulder, and they're going to try and run through. They said they as well have high hopes to get maybe to a regional championship or maybe a state Final Four, but the Lady Warriors, they got it going on right now. And then you see other teams like Buckeye Central.
Yeah,
they're just now state ranked after knocking off a state ranked Monroeville squad. They have 5 losses on the season. 4 of them are to state ranked opponents. So don't count out the Buckettes of Buckeye Central, but in the conference, they're going to have to win out if they want to have a chance as well.
Yeah, but what a big win they had over Monroeville.
Oh, absolutely.
A big confidence-boosting win. So that's what's going down in local volleyball right now. Some of the top contenders in those 3 leagues. Speaking of top contenders, guys, we give you a big responsibility every single week, and it's coming up yet again. So we're going to check out now our Friday Night Phenoms nominees for week number 5 of the high school football season. Roll them! Here come your Friday Night Phenoms from week number 5, presented by Knox Community Hospital. Old Mother Hubbard went to her cupboard to get her poor dog a bone, but when the dog was named Blake, she soon found her mistake as Blake took the rock and went home. 3 rushing touchdowns for the East Knox Junior running back on 94 yards of Howard, Ohio's finest kept grass fields. The Bulldogs blanked the Pirates on Friday night, and even when Cardington looked to be making a move, old Blake went and sacked their poor quarterback. So go to your cupboards now. Find a Phenom vote for the Bulldogs' powerful back. No surprise that Logan Toms makes another appearance on our Friday Night Phenoms countdown with his touchdown spree from this week's game. 3 combined scores and a total of 198 yards on just 20 carries for old number 2 and a win at Crestview. His 3rd straight week as a big contributor for the Cubs in a revenge victory inside of the Cougars' den. Have yourself a day, Mr. Bob Penn Miller, who showed he's probably the best overall dual-threat quarterback in the area for his 2nd straight week. Well over 300 total yards and 3 touchdowns for the Warriors junior signal caller in a 45-0 rout at Clear Fork, and he truly did do it all. Showing off nice touch with his passes, elusiveness from the pocket, and some crazy acceleration to help Ontario remain perfect on the season at 5-0. Your next Phenominee from Week 5 goes to Winford Royal Ashton Warren, who dominated on the field in Sycamore with a 20-point victory over Mohawk. Warren completed 6 of his 8 passing attempts for 142 yards and 3 touchdowns, helping his squad grab a much-needed road win in Northern 10 Conference play as the Royals outduel the Warriors on this night. We reserved the 5th nominee for our next Phenom on purpose, because that's exactly how many times this Shelby senior entered the end zone with the football against previously undefeated Galion, who was unblemished no more. Mostly because Winters was ice cold all night, amassing a career-best 275 yards on the ground to help trash the Tigers as Shelby joins Ontario on top of the league standings. You want to talk about versatility? How about 3 touchdowns and 3 takeaways, all by one dude in one game? Because that's exactly what Jesse Rings did for Centerburg on Friday night, tossing a pair of Trojans touchdowns while rushing in a 3rd, then had an amazing 3 defensive interceptions. So just like Samara Morgan from that movie, The Ring, Jesse was equally as scary a ring to Loudonville, who never should have watched the tape. 7 days. And speaking of 7 days, it's been exactly 7 days since our 7th Phenominee made the countdown. Welcome back, Cole DeLauder of Danville, who hit lucky number 7s by racking up workhorse-type numbers with 28 carries that took him to the end zone destinations more than once, as he covered 175 yards on the turf to keep the Blue Devils in the driver's seat for the KMAC at a perfect 5-0. It's now time to vote, people, for this week's Phenominee. Comment the number of your favorite performance below to decide who did it best. 2 votes today. Same goes with the top plays of the week. Here are your nominees from last Friday night.
Here comes your top plays from week 5 of the high school football season, as always presented by our good friends at Knox Community Hospital. Our first top play nominee takes us to familiar OH.Report territory of Chet Looney Stadium, where Jax Lester and CADEN Wenger probably been doing this exact play since they were just wee pups. Feast your eyes on the 49-yard monster throw. Everything about it is just some top-notch football. Quarterback breaking the pocket, finding one of his favorite receivers, and the catch, just real pleasing to the eye. Logan Toms must not have gotten the memo that this wasn't a track meet on Friday night. It was a football game, as he would dash his way to the end zone 88 yards, leaving a wake of Cougars behind him. This was just one of many highlight reel plays for Logan in a big win over Crestview, with this being the most explosive of his 3 scores. Somebody might want to test Skylar Winters for Hulk DNA, because defenses don't like him when he's angry. Seriously though, look at that pile of 4 Tigers he leaves stacked up like a mess of Jenga blocks, and he's still not done. 2 more Gallion players get a shot at him, and they meet the exact same fate as their predecessors. I mean, come on, watch this one more time in slow motion as more than half of the Gallion defense gets a shot at Winters, who beasts through them all on his way to an amazing 60-yard Shelby touchdown run. Your next top play comes from deep within the corn mazes of Sycamore, where Mohawk's Kane Heyman somehow is going to come up with this 33-yard tip drill touchdown to get the crowd up on their feet. We've all heard about being in the right place at the right time. Well, case in point right here, as Heyman keeps his eye on the prize for the incredible Warrior score, all while doing the whirly-bird. Crazy stuff. Very rarely do you see a kickoff make the top plays, but Danville's Mr. Do-It-All Walker Wickiser is the exception, not only executing a perfect onside kick, but running down the heart of the Northmore front line to recover it. This would set up a go-ahead touchdown drive that was finished off by, well, who else? Walker Wickiser, but you can't score a TD without the ball, as Walker grabs one for the brand. Our final nominee looks like a game of tag when the eldest brother shows off just how much more athletic he is than the entire neighborhood. Only this is a tackle football game, and Mason VANTILBURG is that oldest sibling who jukes out half a dozen Colts for an Ontario score. It even looks more impressive a second time when the video is all slowed down as Mason jumps through Clear Fork's entire secondary like a grown-up playing in a bounce house. Wow. Those are your top play nominees. Vote below by submitting a comment for the best one.
The podcast. But Trav, we're moving past the midway point of the high school football regular season now.
Crazy, right?
Very much so. It's bizarre that we're to this point, but hey, that's what's going on, and we got some big games coming up here on the schedule. Well, maybe not so much big for the first one, but there is something at stake. We're going to begin with Bucyrus versus Winford. It's 2 schools, not separated by that much space out there, and they go head-to-head for the Copper Kettlebell, except for it's been in one trophy case since 1998, if you can believe it.
Collecting dust, yeah.
Winford has held on to that thing for a long time. What do you think about this matchup in this rivalry with Bucyrus coming in at 0-5, but the Royals, they had to pull one out at the end of last season, 2014, after they started 0-5, so you never know.
Yeah, you can actually see the stadiums from each stadium. Like, that's how close these two are. Winford's got a lot to play. They're sitting in 8th right now in D6 Region 22. A win over your rival, it's going to get points, but you're not going to get a lot of bonus points out of this game. This is one of the, you just need to get the win to get some points, but Winford, it's a very important game for them. They want to stay around that top 8 after the game if they win it. And yeah, but Bucyrus though, hey, it's a rivalry game. You never know.
They gave up 68 last week versus Upper though. They've allowed at least 36 points per game. The Royals, outside of that Week 4 loss at Cary where they got shut out 34-zip, they've actually been pretty competitive. I think you're right. They got a lot riding on this one, and they want to keep that trophy in the case. Let's keep it in the N10, but move on. Crawford at Cary. I think this is going to be the game of the weekend, Trav. This has decided the Northern 10 champion that each of the last 3 years. Devils have won the last 2 league chips, but you look at Micah Thomas, Trevor Vogt, that awesome backfield combo for Crawford. They struggled through a tough Week 1 win. They've been crushing everyone since.
Yeah, after 21-20 over a very good River squad where he had to drive 3 hours down to the Ohio Valley, 57 points, 49 points, 56 points, and then a 29-14 victory over Seneca East. But Cary as well, after losing 2 straight, 36-19 to Hopewell, and then 21-14 to a very good Gallion squad.
Sure.
They beat Lima Central Catholic, they blanked Winford, and they blanked Buckeye Central. Cary right now sitting in 7th in D6 Region 22. Crawford, number 3. A win here, major bonus points. A win for Crawford may just as well clinch a playoff spot for them because of the amount of points that's coming into this. For Cary, it'll vault them probably up into the top 4 where they can host a couple games.
All right, let's go to some KM action now. Homecoming night for the Golden Knights taking on Fredericktown. Northmore, kind of a weird loss to Mapleton. They were competitive last week against Danville, and then the Freddies, they scored a season-high 26 versus Mount Gilead last week, but they've been shut out twice. This, to me, pretty interesting matchup. When these two go head-to-head, it seems like it's always a really good game.
Oh, absolutely. And Fredericktown, a bit down from last season's squad, but you can't count them out yet. Lost to Utica by 14. They lost to Dane Nauman 35-0 in Week 1, and then Danville, really good Danville squad, 40-0. You saw Northmore take on Danville, and if it wasn't for a couple sacks, a couple bad penalties, they probably keep right with Danville. This may go into overtime, or they had a chance to win it. But they're a very good squad. If they continue to play the football that they do at Northmore, they'll probably finish a game behind Danville, but get a good seed in the postseason as Northmore sitting right there. Right now they're in 13th, but a win over Fredericktown, that's extra points because Fredericktown's in D5, they're in D6. It could help them out a lot.
And we got 2 highlight games. The one huge, of course, in the MOAC. Let's talk about Gallion traveling over to take on Ontario. The Tigers just suffered their first loss. Warriors, they're 5-0 for the first time in 20 seasons. So this one, it's got a lot of, excuse me, stakes riding on it, not only in the MOAC, but of course in the playoff rankings too, with Ontario near the top in their region in Division 3, and then in Division 4, the Tigers, if they can get this one over an opponent that's in a bigger division,
absolutely
ginormous.
Yeah, Gallion sitting 6th in D4 Region 14 despite that loss to Shelby, but a win over Ontario, and you just said it. Ontario's D3. Ontario needs to win this game to keep them up towards the top because that D3 Region 10, it is just stacked. You have Mansfield Senior sitting there in 8th. You have Ontario in 4th, Columbian, Clyde, Sandusky, Toledo Central Catholic. So for Ontario, they're probably going to have to win 8 or 9 games to be able to sit pretty and have a home game or 2 in the playoffs. So this may mean a little bit more playoff-wise for Ontario because of the stacked region, but for Gallion, that could really get them close to clinching a playoff spot in Week 6 with a win.
I like Gabe Ivey, the number 2 rusher in the MOAC, Prosser too, but then you look on the other side, Bob Penn Miller, he's up for our Phenom this week. He's got, 10 touchdowns the last couple of weeks here, so he's really coming on strong. I saw the Warriors with my own eyes last week. Tons of weapons with Floyd and Studer and VANTILBURG and Peyton Dugan. I think I favor the Warriors in that one. Hillsdale at Dalton, taking on the 2-time defending WCAL champions are the Falcons. They've got just 1 loss. Didn't look very good against Norwayne, but they've been making everybody kind of look silly so far. They're 5-0. So for the Bulldogs and for the Falcons, this is so big, Trav, because you got to keep pace, of course, with those Bobcats. A loss pretty much, I think, puts you out of the conference race.
Oh, absolutely. In Dalton, they played Kirtland close in game number 1. Kirtland won state champions year in and year out. But a win for Dalton keeps it alive. Coming into the season, I figured Hillsdale probably an 8-win team with their loss a couple weeks ago, and then against Dalton probably being the 2 losses. But if they can pull off the victory, that's going to keep them up towards the top 4 with the likes of Danville and Lucas and Hillsdale and Dalton. That's a big one for playoffs as well for both of those teams. But it's a big one for the playoff race, and it's a big one for the conference race because say Hillsdale does get the win, then Dalton and Norwayne, you get an upset there, we may have a 3-way tie.
All right, so that's a big rivalry game, which got us thinking about some of our favorite rivalries in sports, Travis. Obviously, we got one going down tonight, or at least I think it's a rivalry kind of reborn with the Browns and Steelers, but I'm going to let you take over first before I give you my top 5, and you tell me what are your 5 favorite rivalries in sports, regardless of, if it's basketball, football,
something like
if
that.
it's college, high school, whatever, go for it.
All right, we're going to start on the pitch. And this is, it just
beautiful
started in 2017. It's the Hell is Real Derby, Columbus versus Cincinnati. And I just love how, you see that sign going down 71 between Columbus and Cincinnati. I don't know who put it up, but it just makes for a great storyline because you got to pass that going both ways. Columbus has actually dominated this rivalry too. It's 6-3-4. They've outscored Cincinnati 27-15. But like I said, Cincinnati just became a club in 2017 when they were in a lower division. They joined the MLS in 2019, and actually Cincinnati's having a great year this year, Columbus as well. But it's just a fun rivalry for soccer fans as well. Just the fan bases, how big soccer is in Ohio as well. It's so fun. So fun watching these, and we have to go down to a match. I don't care if it's in Cincinnati or Columbus because the vibe is amazing at both venues. That's my number 5. Number 4, it's the oldest baseball rivalry in the book. It started in 1901. It's the Yankees and the Red Sox. I mean, the story of the Red Sox had Babe Ruth as a pitcher, and they traded him to the Yankees.
Oh, yes.
That started the curse. You have the storylines like back in the ALCS where the Red Sox were down 3-0, but then they get the stolen base. They get the home run by Big Papi, and then the next night they get another home run by Big Papi. The bloody sock, things like that. That is one of the best rivalries in baseball and all around. Yankees, Red Sox. You had so many fights. You remember Pedro Martinez throwing down one of the Yankee skippers back in the day. It's literally a fight each time they play each other. So that's why I love it, and that's why it's in my top 5. You're going to be kind of surprised where I have this. My number 3, it's the Backyard Brawl.
Brawl Week.
Brawl Week.
Just ended.
The highlights, big win. And I was actually at this game. This was 2002. Pitt was nationally ranked. West Virginia was just up and coming, and they pulled off a big victory with an interception in the end zone. But West Virginia, the first meeting of this one, 1895.
Ooh.
Yeah, when Pittsburgh was WUP, Western University of Pennsylvania. All-time series, West Virginia is, I think, where's it at? I just lost track of where it is. 62-41-3 in favor of Pitt, actually, in this rivalry. But West Virginia has won most of the games except for that 13-9. I'm not even going to mention that game back in 2007 and knocked us out of the national championship game because we would have then went on and beat Ohio State for the title. But yeah, that's West Virginia Pitt. That's number 3. Number 2 is, well, it should be Steelers Browns, but they ended up having to move to Baltimore.
Oh.
This seems like every year it determines the winner in the division, except for, now you have Cincinnati acting like they can come up here and take over the division. But year in and year out, that week 16-17 game between these two pretty much determined who won the division. And then you saw those playoff matchups as well. It's a brawl. It's literally another backyard brawl per se. This is one of the biggest interceptions in Steelers history. Polamalu in the AFC Championship game. But yeah, you just hate them. We both can say we hate the Ravens, but this is the rivalry, and hopefully the Cleveland Browns take that rivalry over. Number 1, it's probably one that you have as well. It's Ohio State, Michigan.
Okay.
I'm a Mountaineer fan, but I still have respect for the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. It started October 16th, 1897, when Michigan won 34-0. Ohio State, as you know, had the big winning streak until the last 2 years, and, well, you know what happened. And then you got to bring back the game of the century in 2006, which Ohio State won 42-39, number 1 versus number 2, one of the best college football games ever played. But, yeah, this rivalry, Michigan leads at 60-51-6. There are my top 5 rivalries.
Not bad. I like that it's personal to you, and that's the thing about this list, folks, is that it's not necessarily the best 5 rivalries, it's the ones that we like the most. So go ahead and spin my 5 here in order, and I'm actually going to begin on the tennis court, Travis. This might surprise you a little bit.
It does.
I don't watch a lot of tennis, but when I do, it's usually because these two guys are playing. And I got Rafa Nadal versus Roger Federer. And when they play each other, what's so great about it is that it's almost always for a Grand Slam championship. They met 40 times out there, arguably the 2 greatest athletes in the history of their sport, playing in the same era. One's a righty, one's a lefty. Nadal, invincible basically on clay. Roger, seemingly unstoppable on grass. You can't talk about professional tennis without acknowledging these two superstars and their head-to-head rivalry. They've met in so many big matches, as have these two, the most storied franchises in the history of the NBA. They have multiple documentaries about these guys. Celtics and Lakers, Bird versus Magic helped make the NBA exactly what it's become today. That's arguably the best individual rivalry in the history of team sports. Maybe even Shaq and Kobe's up there too on the same team. It's carried on now from the guys like Kareem and Magic, and now LeBron is doing it. They enjoyed so many big head-to-heads in the 60s, 70s, 80s. We've seen them meet in the 2000s as well. Browns versus Ravens. This is the only rivalry in professional sports where one team actually stole another franchise's entire existence. So with the resurrection of the Browns, they're now conference rivals, playing twice a year. And I think arguably the most hated human being in the city of Cleveland ever, the late Art Modell, who sold the team. So like a stinky onion that makes your eyes well up in pain, there's a lot of layers to this rivalry, especially for Browns fans. So the fact that Baltimore won a Super Bowl with all those former Browns players in 2000, with Cleveland great Ozzie Newsome constructing the roster, it really sparked it.
Oh, here's a good
one. Duke, Carolina, come on, baby. They first met in 1922, and somehow the total lifetime series in terms of wins and losses and points scored, almost identical. Separated by just 8 miles, they got iconic coaches, some of the best college players in the history of hoops, the Tyler Hansborough bloody nose game, the Austin Rivers game, the double buzzer beater game, Coach K's final home game, that stretched from the 80s through 2001. Both teams, they were in the Final Four every single year, one of those two. ACC fans are nuts for hoops too. That's why it's the best. But number one, come on, baby, give it up. Probably the two proudest football programs in the history of college football, separated by one state line with opposing fans who literally hate one another. The matchup is so well known and so historic, Travis, it's literally just known as the game. The border battle decides the Big Ten championship almost every season. Coaching legends Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler, Urban Meyer, Jim Harbaugh. Buckeyes fans won't even speak the word Wolverines ever. It's that team up north. Every M everywhere in Columbus gets blacked out the week of the game. It's special, it's different, and I think that, you know, in college football you could say maybe Auburn, Alabama is up there in terms of like the heatedness that gets behind this, but the Buckeyes versus the Wolverines, I think inarguably number one for me.
I like that list. I like that list. A lot of variety, a lot of hatred between both teams or both athletes. Very well done.
Thank you, Sue. Speaking of Ohio State, a gentleman who writes a lot of articles for us about the Buckeyes.
Writes very well about
it, keeping an eye on OSU this year. The guy behind the CLE-BUS on the OH.Report, Lucas Wickiser, is on the line with us now. And Luke, first off, how's it going tonight, man? What you up to? How are you going to be taking in Browns versus Steelers?
Well, Brian, thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate it. It's been a while since I've done this thing, but it's always a blast talking to you guys. I'm having fun, at least getting pumped up for the game, but I'm ever slightly nervous. I think the Steelers got some black magic or some kind of voodoo on us when we're over there. We haven't won over there in the regular season since 2003.
Right.
And so I'm definitely going to – I know most Browns fans – a lot of Browns fans seem to be getting cocky, and I'm like, no, this is your rival team. And I will personally say here, if the Browns win, it'll be by a touchdown or less. This is going to be a dogfight.
Steelers are winning, yeah. That's exactly what I heard.
I like it. We're going to talk about Browns Steelers here in just a second, Luke. I just got a couple questions, though, for you about the Buckeyes. Of course, you've been keeping a watchful eye on them. Just what's your general opinion about the 3-0 start? Because some Ohio State fans, they feel like, oh, man, this team, we're dropping in the rankings, or we're not as good as we've been in the past. And then others, like myself, that kind of see that we've got a younger quarterback and a strong defense. I'm pretty okay with it. Where do you land in terms of what you've seen now, 3 weeks, 3 wins?
I think I'm okay with it. I actually didn't get to catch much of the Western Kentucky game, but I did see the highlights later, and 63-10 was nice.
Yeah.
But I'm not overreacting. I think we'll be fine. You know, we got some big conference games coming up. If we're playing slow or sputtering on offense in those games, then I'm a little worried. I'm just going to say a lot of Buckeye fans, even though I love our passion, they're very spoiled. We've been very spoiled over the last couple of decades, and they just need to chill out. I mean, they'll be fine.
Yeah, man, take a chill pill, Buckeye Nation. It's fine. Kyle McCord's been okay. I mean, 6 touchdowns. I like that he's not turning it over there, though. Just one pick. Marvin Harrison Jr., he's not getting quite as many opportunities as I thought, but I think clearly he's like the Ferrari of college football. Could you envision a way where he gets himself into the Heisman picture, or is he just not going to get enough touchdowns and yardage?
I think he'll get himself into the Heisman picture. I thought he already was kind of one of the dark horses right now. I mean, if he's not going to be a Heisman contender, he will certainly be a top 5 pick whenever he goes pro. I mean,
no question.
You talk about it in the genetic lottery. I heard when he was first breaking out for Ohio State that he's not only taller than his old man, he's supposedly a better route runner, and his old man's a Hall of Famer. So what's that tell you?
It tells me that I'm real happy to have him hanging out with us in Columbus on Saturday afternoons. Right. And it's going to be Saturday night. They're traveling to South Bend. We've kind of had Notre Dame's number since we've been meeting them in some bowl games and so forth. Luca, what do you think's going to decide this one coming up on Saturday? That's a huge game, of course. 2 undefeateds in the top 10 going head-to-head.
I think what will decide this one, I mean, of course you want the offense to start rolling. But I think the biggest thing that will decide this is quarterback pressure. I mean, Notre Dame just got a different energy at home, kind of like the Steelers have a different energy against the Browns at home. It's just a different environment. I mean, you're not playing in the horseshoe. You're not playing the friendly confines of the horseshoe, and so you got to bring that energy on the road. And I want to see the defense get after it, and then hopefully they can build some momentum on offense and just get rolling. I would say use a run to set up the pass. Start pounding them, get physical with them, get after them a little bit. But yeah, I think our defense will probably be the key to this one. I would honestly say the defense will probably be the key. I mean, most Ohio State fans might be mad if they win ugly. I don't care. Just win.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Kind of surprised, though, that we haven't been getting the running game going with guys like Mayan Williams and Trey Henderson in the backfield. Both of them under 200 total yards so far in the season through 3 weeks. Right. That's got to change. But, all right, it's Monday night, baby. Let's talk about the big game that's about to go down, Luke. And you already mentioned it. Cleveland has not gone on the road and beat the Steelers since 2003. You were just a little kid. I was a senior in high school. Does it feel different to you, the fact that we're going over there coming off of a big win this week? Or do you believe in that voodoo magic?
I would say it's a bit of both. I mean, a lot of Browns fans, after we beat the Bengals, they were ecstatic, and I was ecstatic too, because they were literally counting the 3-and-out stops by the defense led by Jim Schwartz, and there were at least a dozen. I mean, I hadn't seen defense that good in years. But after the game against the Bengals, I kind of calmed down and say, hey, look, you got the Steelers next week. It's going to be in their place. They haven't lost there in the regular season in 2 decades. The last time the Browns were actually favored in Pittsburgh in the regular season was 1989. So there's a lot of records to break and demons to exercise here. But I do kind of believe in the black magic. There's something in the water, in that stinky, nasty hot dog water in Pittsburgh that's working for them. So we'll see what happens.
I just saw Amari Cooper is going to be active tonight. How big do you think it is that our number 1 wideout is going to be available tonight on the road?
I think it's huge. I hope the moment doesn't get too big for him. I think we'd have been fine without him, because that shows what kind of weapons we have. You have Njoku as tight end. Chubb could be a good pass catcher in space. He could be underrated.
Showed it last week, I think.
Right. And then you got David Bell, and Marquise Goodwin would be the big speedster if Cooper wasn't in. So I think we'd have been fine. But if he's good to go, he must be ready to roll. So let's just hope he can make some big acrobatic catches and kind of serve as the spark for this offense.
You talked about Nick Chubb, though. Only 18 carries for him last week. Did go over 100 yards in that beatdown of the Bengals. They have to feature him more tonight, right, going against guys like T.J. Watt and that Steelers defense. Wouldn't you think 24-plus carries for Nick Chubb seems to be about the right amount?
I think maybe here, especially early if you can establish your physicality. I think 24, 25-plus, if you're pounding on them early, that'll set the tone. And then it'll allow us to open things up and do a little bit more of what we want to do. But yeah, I think featuring Chubb big and featuring him early and get a dose of him early and often would really be helpful to get this thing rolling. Use the run to set up the pass. There's no need to get cute. Just get after it. It's 2 AFC North teams going at you. This isn't Ferraris. You have bulldozers going right at each other.
Yeah, there's nothing cute about this rivalry, Luke. We got 50 seconds until we got to get off of here, so break it down for me, bro. Give me a prediction, throw out a final score.
I think the Browns are going to win 24-17. Deshaun Watson plays better than he did last week. The Browns defense gets at least 2 or 3 sacks on Kenny Pickett, and DeJuan Jones doesn't shut down T.J. Watt, but he slows him down just enough. I think that'll be the biggest key to the game. The rookie shuts down the eventual Hall of Famer, at least enough for the Browns to win. It's going to be close. I would be shocked if it was a blowout either way.
All right, Lucas Wickiser, our writer for the CLE-BUS. Thanks a lot, man. Enjoy the game tonight. If you want to watch along with me and Travis, we're going to be a house divided coming up. We're going to be going live on set here, but we got 5 seconds left, so we got to get out of here.
24-21 Steelers. We get it.
Yeah, right.
Pick it. Last second touchdown.
Browns by 10. Let's go. Bye, y'all.